and welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin. And I am joined this week. Well, I'm joined this episode. You know who it is. You clicked on the thumbnail. You see him. He's here. David Gregor from the almighty Morta Skuld. How are you, my friend?
Awesome. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing, in the current situation, it looks like it's just getting crazier and crazier. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So, yeah, just grateful to be, still in work and still everything's okay for me so far. But you don't know when that's going to change. So just one day at a time and just always being great,
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yes, you've recently moved and you've got a nice little display in the background there.
Yep.
That's all.
That was the first thing when I moved. I said to my buddy, I says, "Hey man, can you come over here and help me hang up the wall?" I said, "I gotta have the wall up. I gotta feel comfortable. It's kind of like I see your little bunker. I got a little bunker here too. Yeah. It's kind of like I got my amps and stuff, and my guitars. So definitely had to make this the first thing to settle into."
Yeah, awesome, man. I mean, I love that one, especially in the middle there. I want one of them myself. Yeah, with all the releases.
Oh yeah. That was put together by my former drummer off the first 4 records. It was my was it about 3-4 years ago? It was my birthday, and he just kind of walked in and said, "Hey man, I made this. I got this done for your birthday," and he made one for himself and one for me, and I thought it was like the coolest thing. So
yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, are they the vinyls that you've just put in a frame, or are they art cutouts, or?
Are you talking about the vinyl one or the big collage in the middle?
The collage in the middle is the one.
Those are just the CD covers. Yeah, so I just took the CD covers out, and then the weird thing about it, he was asking me about it. He's like, "Hey, you got an extra cover of what Surface?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And he's like, "Well, can I get that?" And he was just asking me for covers, and I thought it was kind of odd. And then all of a sudden, like I said, about a month goes by, and he brought that in. So yeah, it's all like professionally framed, and yeah. I was gonna try to get the Suffer for Nothing in there, and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna probably have to pay like $80 to have somebody kind of tear it apart and put that in there for me.
It can get pretty pricey actually framing. Yeah, once you start.
Yeah.
and all around that's all vinyls. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And then and then the other ones are just they're the actual vinyls. Matter of fact, the Dying Remains and As Humanity Fades are both first pressing in there. So those are the original pressings.
Awesome. And you got the demo there as well in the corner.
Yep. Great. Yep. And I got Serving Two Masters, and then of course Wounds Deeper Than Time, and then Suffer for Nothing up.
So we've as viewers of the channel will see that we had the new album out just a couple of weeks ago. This completely took me by surprise. I was normally you get a big announcement, we're recording a new album, and then you get a couple of updates, and then out of nowhere, it's just you didn't have none of that. It was just boom, it's out. Here's where you order it.
Yeah, you can thank COVID for that. How can I say this? We were actually recording during like when it first broke out. That's when we actually started recording, like March. It was March, April, and like part of May, and with everything that was going on, the studio guy we were working with was like, "Hey, I don't want any pictures," because I think I put up one picture once, and like he was like, "Yeah, we don't want any pictures. We don't want nothing," because in the city we live in, we didn't want to be shut down. So we were taking there was like maybe 2 of us in the studio at one time, maybe 3 tops. So we just really wanted to kind of keep it under wraps. And it was a long road negotiating the album too, with Peaceville. A lot of, I guess, begging on my part, like, "Come on, man, we're ready. Let's do this," and they finally got the okay to go ahead and, budget and all that good stuff. And then next thing you know it, we're slated for like mid or late March to go in. And then that's when all the, shit hit the fan. So that's why we really didn't put any updates. And even after we were done with the record, we really didn't put much because we didn't want people to, be like, "Hey man, you guys are killing people and you're risking lives."
Yeah,
and
everyone getting a bit.
Yeah, and I mean, really to be honest, it was just like I said, it was like whoever was there to track, and then our producer engineer was there, and then maybe one other guy. But like we avoided all the large crowds and stuff because, like I said, we really didn't want to, I guess, draw attention to us that we were recording. So
yeah, so that's a pretty good turnover as well, isn't it? You're recording it February and March, and it came out in September.
It was like, we started in mid-March, and then it spilled over into like, I think we were finally finished with mixes by May.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
Yeah, well, everything went quick. Our producer, he can only work on weekends because he works full time during the week.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much weekend by weekend by weekend. So I think it was like 6 or 7 weekends. But I mean, yeah, most of the tracking went real smooth, and I'd say within like the first 2 weekends, we were pretty much done with all the tracks.
Cool. So, what was the recording process like? Was it nice and quick? Was you knocking it out?
Yeah. I mean, it was real similar to the last album. We just kind of everybody went in, everybody did their job. I think Eric knocked his drums out in like 5 hours. Yeah.
5 hours.
Yeah, and most of them are like first takes, maybe second here and there, but yeah, mostly first takes. I went in, did the same, 3-4 hours, got the guitar tracks done. The vocals took a little bit longer, just because when I do vocals, it just, you're really trying to sing your hardest and your loudest, and it kind of takes a little bit out of you. So I think I did my vocals in like maybe 3 days and like maybe 2 or 3 hours a piece. So I knocked it 5-6 hours. I think it took me to knock out the vocals.
Yeah, I've recorded vocals myself, and it's it can be grueling. You've got to get that just right, especially with the growls and even little sounds with the voice and
Exactly. So that didn't sound good enough. Can you go back and make it more gravelly, or can you go back and do a high pitched one, or whatever?
And then you find right, that's right, but a bit more balls behind it. But do what you just did there, and then you go
again, more question, please.
So so I found with this album, I'll tell you what, when I was first listening to it, I had a quick look on Metal Archive to see if you got a new drummer.
No.
No. Which leads me to my main point. This album sounds a lot more ferocious, a lot more pissed off than Wounds Deeper Than Time. It's I don't know. It just seems like this was a lot more aggressive and a lot more full on this time. There's a lot more faster songs, a lot more shredding. There's still some, sort of doomier and more melodic moments. I think God Like Shell was one that stood out for me.
Very cool.
Suffer for Nothing. The Face I Hate as well was. There was one. It had a real sort of breakdown to like a nice groove. I listened to it again this morning, and I remember thinking, "Oh, that's nice." But there was little moments. I think it was God Like Shell or Suffer for Nothing. It had a really melodic solo, like a real, and it's like
I know God Like Shell's got 2 solos, and I know Scott does the first, I do the second. Yeah. And in Suffer for Nothing, that's just me. So maybe that's the one you're thinking of?
Yeah, it was quite shreddy, but actually quite melodic as well.
Okay.
But overall, I found this was a lot of a much more faster album. This was a lot more shredding, and while Wounds Deeper Than Time's a bit more mid-paced, a bit more groove.
Sure. Yeah, it was funny because when John Hill, when John joined the band, now John's been with us for a long time. He was pretty much our touring bass player. So we have toured a lot with John. And when AJ decided to pursue college and his personal life, it was just a natural fit for John to get into the fold. And at that time, John hadn't really heard any of the new songs. So I was like, "Hey, I'm going to send you the new songs," and sent it to him. And then I asked him, I said, "Well, what did you think?" And he's like, the only word he could use was aggressive. He's like, "The songs are more aggressive." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool to get somebody who's kind of on the outside of it, coming in and saying it's aggressive." So yeah, I definitely feel there was a lot more faster tempos and aggressiveness, and just
all round
Yeah.
Stuff.
Some of the songs were written. There were 3 songs that were written right after Wounds Deeper Than Time. We had a little bit of time off, so we wrote a couple of songs, and then we got busy with festivals and shows and tours, and then we came back and wrote like 3 more, and then went back out and did some more busy stuff, and then came back and finished up with like 3 or 4 songs. So they were all kind of written over different periods of time within the last 3 years.
Yeah, around this time as well, I'll be asking you about upcoming tours, but I guess that's a pretty pointless question.
Right. Yeah, we were supposed to be in Europe last month, and then this month we were supposed to be stateside. As far as I know, we've talked to the Killtown promoters and the Show and Beak promoters and the Porto promoters, and they all are scheduling for next year, God willing. So we're hoping to repeat this, or what we were supposed to do, and repeat it next year, as well as the U.S. tour, because it's like the album, like you said, the album came out a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of feel somewhat helpless about promoting it because social media is my only way to promote it. And we all know that, Facebook is limiting, views, or limiting this and limiting that. So I really don't know how many people I'm really getting out to, or how many people are seeing, like, hey, Morta Skuld's got a new album out. So I do post as much as I can just to keep in the people's minds, like, hey, we're still here. We're just kind of doing what everybody else is doing. We're trying to find other outlets and other ways to get to reach the fans.
Yeah, I think a lot of bands are going to be in the same boat.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be ugly next year because a lot of the bigger bands are obviously going to get first choice and first pick over things. So a lot of bands like on our level and other bands like us, who knows? We may not get a chance to tour because the other bigger bands are taking up either the dates or the venues, so you don't know.
Yeah. Hopefully, well, fingers crossed. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I think we're all going to get I think people are dying to get out.
I do too. I
thought it'd be all over by now, but I don't know what it was said in America, but we were literally told this was meant to be for 3 weeks while our NHS basically gets supplies together and prepares for the oncoming wave, and then it's just gone on and on and on. It's crazy. Yeah, so
exactly.
Anyway, so what I wanted to do, I thought would be cool to do, is go through the story of Morta Skuld. So, do you want to tell me a little bit about the beginning of the band, and then we'll go through the albums one by one? And
sure. The band basically was a conception I had in 1989. Really didn't come to fruition, so to speak. I started in '89, and I went through a couple of lineup changes and some names, and eventually, once 1990 hit, it was a little bit more solid as far as the guys I had and the tunes. And at that time, Eric Greif, who handles all the Death Estate stuff, was...
Yeah, I know Eric,
yeah. He was producing our demo at the time and kind of managed us a little bit. And so we went in the studio with him to do our very first demo, Gory Departure, and which was a weird experience because we were all brand new to playing. A lot of us weren't very good at playing and didn't know the isolation of the studio. You're playing, you're like, wow, I can't hear the other guitar player. What's going on? And we just weren't used to that kind of stuff. So when there came certain parts where there was no cue and it was so isolated, we were like, wow, this kind of freaked us out a little bit, but it was a great first experience. Once the demo came out, I started tape trading with some folks in Europe and mainly England, and it just took off. It just we were in like magazine or all the the magazines and stuff that that people go to Kinko's and doing their bedroom and stuff and distribute. We would just be in like every one. And within about a 6-month period, we decided that we didn't decide, but we had a lineup change, and we decided let's write some different. We had a guitar player change and a drummer change, so we thought let's write some new songs. So we wrote a couple more songs. Went in a different studio with Eric Greif again, and did a 3-song demo, Prolong the Agony. Came without with that, and then I'd say within maybe a couple of months, I got a call from not Hammy, Johnny from Def Records, and I was like, you know, I was living with my bass player and his mom's like 4 a.m. or something like that, you know, 3 because of the time difference. Yeah, there's this guy from England on the phone from you, and I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah. I was like, okay. So Johnny's like, hey man, he goes, your tape's just tearing up over here. We want to offer you a record deal, and I'm like, oh wow, this is awesome. So we Johnny and I, went through the deal, got everything signed, and then we proceeded to write what was Dying Remains. Had another lineup change, had a different drummer come in, Kent at this point, and then the dynamics between Kent and Jeff were so different that we were like, we really got to write just something different than what we did on the demos. So after, and at that time too, we were very influenced by a lot of what was happening in the UK and the early Napalm Death stuff and the early Entombed and early Boat Thrower and early Paradise Lost and Gorefest and all those bands we were just so influenced by, and you can hear it on Dying Remains. You can really hear it. It's got a very European sound to me. And we went ahead and we recorded the record, and the record took, instead of coming out within a few months, it took like a year and a half. So by the time the Dying Remains was coming out, we were already kind of, so to speak, into the next record. So Dying Remains finally came out. The band and I had parted ways for, I can't remember back if it was 6 months, a year. I don't know what it was. But Jason and Kent kind of said, hey, we're going over, this way. I said, I'm going over this way. And I hooked up with a local band and kind of used their musicians to become a new Morta Skuld. And then Jason and Kent, they were going through a lot of, they couldn't find anybody to sing and play at the same time. They couldn't find anybody that could just play well or just sing well. And we happened to be at a Halloween party. A friend of mine from Realm was hosting a party that year. And it just so happened that Kent was actually playing drums with them for a short stint. And I was like, oh, I'll come over. I'll have some beers, check it out. And they did a set in the basement. It was like so cool. And then we started kind of talking, kind of like, you meet an ex-girlfriend. You're like, why did we break up, And so the guys and I were like, hey, let's get together and let's see what happens. So I went over to their jam spot, and they had already written, well, first of all, they changed their tuning, which they tuned up to D standard. We were like in like a drop C or something like that. And I was like, oh, wow, you guys tuned up now. And they're like, yeah. And Jason, the guitar player, was really into Malevolent Creation. So everything was, And I was like, okay. So they had like, I think eight or nine songs already written. And I was like, okay, and I was listening to them, and I was like, I kind of wanted to stay more where I was, kind of like with the European sound type thing. And like I said, it wasn't bad material. It was just, I just wasn't used to the sound all of a sudden. And it was just definitely a little bit more of an aggressive sound, bitier sound. And so I kind of sat down with him. I says, I'll learn that song, this song, and that song. I think I learned about 5 of their songs. I had nothing to do with the songs except for probably the solos and the lyrics. That entity had written the music. So I picked out 5 songs I liked, and then I said, why don't we write a bunch more as a band? And so at that, so like half of As Humanity Fades is pretty much the 3 of them with me adding the vocals and solos. Then the rest of the record is the band as a whole writing the record. So As Humanity Fades came out, did real well. At that point, the band decided to, thank you. The band decided to go on and write the next records. I'm sorry here, somebody just... Anyways, so sorry about that. Anyways, somebody was bugging me here. So anyway, so we finished As Humanity Fades. We started writing For All Eternity. We went in, we recorded For All Eternity. That record came out. That record really didn't do very well. I don't know if it was because it was the last.
For the viewers there.
Yes, thank you.
We're speeding through these, man.
Yeah, and yeah, it was weird. It's like, I don't know if it was because, like I said, if it was the last record on the contract, like there really was no press really for it. It just kind of came out, and it was kind of like like when you make spaghetti and you throw the noodle on the wall, you see if it sticks. It was kind of something like that, and we were kind of like really disappointed because we had been with Peaceville for a long time, and really respect the label and who we worked with. And I was like, wow, man, it just didn't do much. So we were like, whatever, fine. We have no contract. We're free agents at this point. We can do what we want. So we started writing material for a demo, and we wrote about 4 songs. Went in, demoed it, shopped it around. Didn't really get much response. Okay, cool. Then we went back in a couple months later, did another 4-song demo. Shopped it, didn't get a response. So we put the 2 4-song demos together, which became Surface. And I remember right before Pavement picked it up, I was hanging out with Phil from Level and Creation, and he was hanging out with my buddy's Oppressor at their house. It was after a show, and I put Killing Machines.
Fans.
Yeah, I put Killing Machines in, and Phil was like, "Dude, that fucking song rips." No, fuck, that song rips. I'm like, oh, thanks. He's like, dude, I'm calling Pavement, dude. They got to pick you up. It's like, okay. So he called Pavement. Pavement, we really didn't get signed to Pavement. It was more of like a licensing deal. And unfortunately, Pavement didn't do much with it. It just, really wasn't much advertising. I think there was like an ad in Hit Parader at the time for it. Yep. So there was an ad at Hit Parader for it. And then that it was really about it. It kind of came and went. And then we were supposed to tour right after that record came out. And we were supposed to go out with, I think it was 6 Feet Under for a couple of dates. And we went on the road, and Kent just mysteriously got sick. I don't know what happened, what he was doing or what he wasn't doing, but he got sick, and he didn't feel like he could perform. And it was unfortunate because there was several of us that had, money invested, with renting vans. My good friend, local promoter that did the Milwaukee Metal Fest, Jack Kochik, he basically got us a van. And not only that, but the night before, the first date was opening for Slayer. So it was really cool. He got us a date opening for Slayer. We actually got paid to do the date. Was probably one of the highlights for me. Was like, wow, I'm playing with Slayer and I'm getting paid, So
better than that.
right. Excuse me. So after that, we came home, and unfortunately, we just lost everything. We lost our management. We lost our, Pavement was like, well, we're not gonna work with you if you guys can't complete a tour. And it was unfortunate because that kind of was the beginning of the end for us at that point. And it was really hard to bounce back. My drummer at the time really didn't. I don't think he realized how important that it was to complete this, or at least do a couple dates. And with him not, wanting to go further and wanting to come home, it, kind of ended the career of all of us in the band at that time. And at that time, Scott Willicke, which played on the last 2 records with me, he was in the band at that time. He didn't record with us, but he was touring with us. So needless to say, we were all very upset over the decision of one person, and came home, and we still carried on with him, believe it or not. We were writing some newer songs for our next record, and then he just kind of said, hey, I'm done with this whole thing. I just want to be a family man. We were like, okay, great. And then it took us a while to, we couldn't find a drummer. Grunge came in, kind of metal kind of went out. It was really hard finding people that wanted to play the style of music that we were playing. So I kind of made a conscious decision to kind of don't pull the plug. Excuse the pun. I know we're both wearing our Death Strokes hoodies. But
that was
I decided
completely unplanned, by the way, for the viewers.
Oh,
that was a complete coincidence.
Mine was completely planned. I planned it completely. I,
Have you got the? No, I've got the old school logo as well. I thought you had the old school one. I had the new one, but
nice. Yeah, I actually went out. I actually went out one day. I know throughout the last like 5 years, I've been buying like one a year, just to have them all. So now I have them all. Cameron at Relapse was awesome for helping me with that. But yeah, so anyways, getting back to things, Surface went away. At that point, I decided to. I auditioned for a few bands, and just didn't really work out. So I said, well, I'm going to do my own thing again. And I started up a band, which people classify as nu metal. I didn't really classify it as nu metal. I mean, we had a guy who did sing and do rough vocals, but we didn't have turntables. We didn't rap. But it is what it is. And it was more commercial. It was more radio friendly. That band did 2 albums and then toured as well. And then, of course, the height of same thing with grunge, man. It's like all these genres are coming in, killing my career, So grunge came in, did it the first time. The second time, it was like not really a style, but it was like nu metal, kind of like was like and then it was like and it was kind of like on the downswing. And we kind of
really unpopular.
Yeah. It was right here, and we came in like right here. It was like bad timing.
It was massive, and then sort of overnight, people just pretended that they never liked it, and all the bands were terrible. It's like, well, they've been filling up venues for the last, But
well, right, and the thing was, I was really a big Static X fan, so I was trying to kind of stay in that genre, but not with the samples or anything. And Tim from Oppressor or Soil now.
Yeah, went on to do Soil.
Yeah, but Tim actually produced the record with us, and it's very radio friendly, but it's still heavy at points. And I love the record because I think he really did a great job in helping us produce it and get a great tone. And it was awesome for us because I had a great experience working with a producer. Being in death metal, you really don't per se have that, at least not at our level. But yeah, it was cool working with him. And basically, like I said, that band kind of, we had done a couple of big shows here and local shows in town supporting we supported like Five Finger Death Punch and Damage Plan. When Dimebag was still around, we supported them, which was friggin' awesome. It was like probably a height for us at that point.
You've done the big two. You've played with Sloan. You've played with Dimebag. I mean, and Vinny, of course.
Right. So yeah, so of course, like everything else, a couple of guys we lost a member, and one of the guys were just kind of like, yeah, I'm just gonna kind of do a Fleetwood Mac. I'm gonna go my own way, and nobody really told me, so I'm kind of sitting around thinking the band's intact when it's not. And long story short, kind of led me back to the road to Morta Skuld. Eric Reif was at the time reissuing a lot of the Death stuff, and he was working with Relapse. And he said, hey, he says, when we did those first 2 demos, he goes, I've never had a chance to have that on CD at all. And he's like, would you be willing to go in the studio and put those on a CD for me? And I was like, sure. Right, exactly. So I went in the studio. I literally just did like kind of a transfer. And at the time, I was talking with Jeff, which was the drummer from the Prolong the Agony tape. And he does a lot of cleaning up of tapes and stuff like that and audio for people. So he was like, I hear you were doing something. He's like, can I grab it and like clean it up a little bit? Not that there was much to clean up, but just the sound from tape to digital. Yeah. So he went and he kind of cleaned it up, and then he's like, you know what? I think I can make this sound better. And he found some. We found like the DAT tapes, the master tapes. So he's like, let's go in the studio. So we went in the studio not once, not twice, but 3 times before we actually sent this off to Relapse, because we were finding out that we could fix things that we weren't able to fix back in the day. I think on the original demo, I think there were like 2 songs where like 5 seconds of the beginning was like cut off for some reason. So we were able to reestablish that and really clean them up. And just make them. They really sound good. So we did that. And Eric's like, I really like this. And I said, okay. And he's like, would you mind if I put it out on Relapse as just kind of like a, and the funny thing was Through the Eyes of Death, you couldn't get in any record store. You could only get through either mail order or digital copy. So put it out there. Got some response off of it. We hired a Clawhammer to do the PR for us. And the PR just went really, really well. We got a lot of great responses. So we decided, or I shouldn't say we, but Eric had been really in my ear for probably about a year. He's like, get the band back together, get the band back together. And I'm like, dude, I haven't played this style of music in like 10 years or whatever it was. I said, he kept at me. And then finally I talked to Jeff, and Jeff's like, yeah, he's like, let's see if Kevin and Jason want to jam. So we contacted the other two guys and started jamming a couple days a week and started relearning the demos. And then we got a couple of show offers locally, and we're like, yeah, let's do some shows. So we did probably about 5 or 6 shows. And then Jeff decided he didn't want to pursue the band thing anymore. At least with us, because we wanted, at that point, we were like, let's start writing. And he really he wasn't able to learn the Dying Remains songs, just stamina-wise. He had some health, I think he had cancer early on, and then he had some, not a tumor, but a what's it called? He had some, like a brain aneurysm. So his stamina was it just wasn't there. So he was like, yeah, I'm going to kind of go my way. And the other two guys kind of went their way. And I was like, oh, okay, so here we are again. Me being like the, solo guy, just kind of hanging out.
Standing, yeah.
Yeah, last man standing. I'm like, okay. So I literally approached Jason about looking for other people. And Jason was like, yeah, let's see what we can find. Threw out a couple feelers, got a local guitar player. And then we tried to get Eric, speaking of drumming, we tried to get Eric at first, and he was too busy with his job. So we were like, man, that really sucks, because we really liked what he did on the Jungle Rot records. And just out of the blue one day, he's like, you guys still need a drummer? We're like, absolutely. He's like, well, let's meet at a local pub, and let's meet and let's talk. So we met at a local pub, and as soon as I walked in, I saw him at the end of the bar, and he already had a pint in his hand, and I'm like, I think we're going to be all right, And then he just basically, I think we, like right away, just became really good friends, and he was like, let's start jamming, So anyways, we got him in the practice spot, and he's just like, what song? I'm like, what? He's like, what song? Name a song. Let's do it. And I'm like, oh, wow. I'm like, we don't know any of the album songs at this point. We just know the demo songs. And then also another thing that happened with us is we changed our tuning because of the prior band I was in. I did a drop A sharp tuning. And I was one of those guys where, like, I don't want to have 6 guitars at a show, and one's in this, and one's in that, and one's in this, and, 8 million different string gauges. So I was like, is there any way we can learn some of the album stuff in the drop tuning? Jason was like, absolutely, because the first record, Dying Remains, was in the drop tuning. So that was a real easy transition. The standard stuff, As Many Fades, For All Eternity, Surface, were a lot harder, because they were in a D standard, and then you're transposing down to a drop tuning. The songs we do in the D standard that we have transposed, those seem to work out really well. Killing Machines and Save Yourself seem to sound really well in the drop tuning. So again, so we had this drop tuning, and we're trying to figure things out. Eric came in and just nailed it. Like, he just, what song, let's do it. Just nailed it. And we were just like, wow, this guy is just amazingly good. So anyways, we started working with Eric, and then we got to a point where I think we did a couple handful of shows, and then we decided let's experiment, let's start writing again. And then that led us to Serving Two Masters. Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Yeah, so Serving Two Masters, and we did a cut. We revised. I want to say
You
revised.
did a video for one of the songs on this, didn't you?
I know there's Destroy Us, I believe, was a video we did for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only other real video was for Prolong the Agony. And that was Doug Cook actually. That did that. He also did the Control Denied video. Mm-hmm. And I think he did a death video as well. So that was really the only official video at that point. So anyways, so we're sitting here writing this music, Serving Two Masters. We decided to re-record Presumed Dead in a drop tuning and Prolong the Agony. And we put that out to kind of like a feeler to see if people would be interested in any new material from us. And at that point, it was kind of like, it was kind of like a testing the waters. It was like, well, is this going to work? How is this going to work? We're in a different tuning. And it came out, and it did, that came out on Dread Records. It did really, really well. And the people's response to it was really good. So as we were kind of doing that, we decided like, well, maybe we should start writing a full length album. And as we got into the full length, maybe 3 or 4 songs, we had a big lineup change. The guitar player and bass player Jason both left, and or whatever they want to say, left, fired, who knows. Everybody's got their own, spin on what happened. I just remember going like, wow, we need now we're down 2 guys. So at that point, we had heard of a local guy, AJ. Who was he toured with oh man, now I gotta think who he toured with. He toured with some tech death bands, not Origin, but
Blazoned.
Huh? He was Blazon was his main band, but he toured with like
Decrepit Earth.
That's it. Thank you. So he toured with them for a while and was kind of done with that. And then he was like, hey, I noticed you need a guy, so he came down, started playing with us. Amazing player, picked up the songs right away. And then we were like, well, we need to work a guitar player in. And at that point, I just really didn't know who to contact. So I contacted Scott Willicke, which was in Morta Skuld in '98. And he was going through some hand surgeries and stuff due to some working. He used to work with big concrete, underground concrete stuff. And so he had really major surgery on his hands. And
like big tools and probably vibration was probably
right. Yeah, impact hammers. So he really wasn't sure at that point. He just wasn't sure. He's like, I don't know if I can play. I don't know what I can do. So I was like, okay, no problem. Came in, he learned a couple songs. He did a great job. And then as kind of time progressed, it was like he just noticed his hands were like feeling better. So so there's probably like 3 or 4 songs on Wounds that were written with the Serving Two Masters lineup, and then the other half was written with AJ and Scott, and of course Eric. So we released after we recorded that at Mercenary Digital Studios, we released Wounds Deeper Than Time. So first full length album in a long time, and thank you. And right out of the bat, I mean, just did real well. It just did real well. It was received real well. I mean, we got a lot of great offers off of it. California Death Fest, Netherlands Death Fest, Symbolic Open Air, a tour also that we were put on by the California Death Promoters. He arranged a tour for us, and Evan, and went out for pretty much our first tour, like in 20 some years. And we went out on tour and it had a great time. We were received. The reception was awesome. And then we came back, and then that's when we started doing some of the festivals, went over Netherlands, which was amazing. It was very humbling to be there amongst fans that had waited 20 some years to see us. And it was just like, wow. It was like very humbling, and at the same time it was very exciting. Probably, I probably should say Slayer would be my highlight, but I would think Netherlands was my highlight, just because being there and the culture, and it was so relaxed. And I remember at the time I was going through I thought I was going through some health stuff and just something, you know, I just wasn't feeling myself. And I like immediately got to off the plane in Netherlands and just kind of, just like this calmness kind of came over me. And a couple of days of that was just amazing. And we came home, and then a couple months later, we went to Czech Republic to do the Symbolic Open Air. Martin, the promoter there, asked us to come out, and another great experience, you know, just fans that, you know, would never got to see us. So those are some really great experiences off of that record. We also did a small run with Skeletal Remains last year, which was awesome. Those guys are great.
Great band. I saw them live in London last year as well. And
nice, yeah, great band, dude. Great band. We got along with them like instantly.
Yeah, an LP. I had the albums on CD, but I actually bought the vinyl at the merch stand and got the guys to sign it. And it was upstairs in a pub, so it was this really tiny room. And I said to them there and then, I said, "This is the last time I'm ever going to see you in a venue this small." They were that good.
Right. So yeah, you know, we got a lot of really great opportunities off of the Wounds Deeper Than Time, and lo and behold, we started writing for the next record, and all of a sudden, again, lineup change. I think we got in like maybe 5 songs in again, and then AJ decided that he wanted to concentrate on his life, and then John Hill was touring with us anyways, so we were like, you know, hey, do you want the position? And he was like, hell yeah, I do. I was like, awesome. And John's a great guy, very easy, laid back, great player. You know, he knew all the songs anyways. So we gave him all the new songs. He learned them. And then he proceeded to, we all proceeded then to write the next, or the rest of the record. And Scott and I, and Eric, we all contributed to it, and it was it was a good time. You know, we were kind of, I guess, on the label, like, hey man, let's, you know, we're ready to do this record, and then when they gave us like the green light, we were like, oh shit, we still have 2 songs to write, you know. So we were like, we need another like month or so. We got 2 more songs to write, so we finished up with a couple of songs. And then at that point, you know, decided to schedule studio time. And then lo and behold, September 25th, Suffer for Nothing came out. And I think that leads us up, I think, till current status.
And then you appeared on the Nightmare Cabin show. So it's all another highlight.
Exactly.
So, yeah, to me, I think these 2 albums are 2 sides of the same coin. They just fit together and complement each other nicely. It seems, obviously, this is, for me, yeah, more groove and more sort of thick riffs and very, well, this one's a bit more of a shredder. But I do think they complement each other wonderfully. And yeah, you kind of hit the ground running as well with that EP.
Yeah, and you know,
2 Masters.
Yes, yeah.
But you've kind of, I mean, a lot of people, I mean, this considered a classic, and it comes up on a lot of death metal lists.
It does.
But, to be honest, though, I think everything afterwards, you got better after this album.
Thank you.
It's you kind of as humanity fades, you know, again, got a bit more technical. For All Eternity as well was a bit more of a shredding vibe. There's a lot of like acoustic interludes in there as well. He's really expanded on your songwriting. Surface is a favourite of mine.
Awesome.
For obvious reasons.
Well, you did a line notes as well.
And
highlight for you.
It was a highlight for me.
I'm just joking.
I've got a.
I see it right there. I see it right there.
In the corner there. Yeah, I've got it there, but on the wall there, I'll send you a photo. But I've got the vinyl and the thing framed.
Oh, very cool.
On this wall here.
Awesome.
That was my first liner notes job, and what an album to start off with.
Yeah, no, you did a great job. I really appreciate that you did that, because if they would ask me, I wouldn't know what to say. You know, I'm just like, well, I don't know, it's my record.
Because Wounds Deeper in Time came out that year, so I was entrenched in Morta Skuld that year. because I was listening to this non-stop so I could write the article for it. But then Wounds Deeper in Time came out, and at the same time, As Humanity Fades and For All Eternity were also reissued on another label. So I had about a 4 or 5 months. Another album came through the post. So and then built the collection up from there. But yeah, Surface is definitely a highlight for me. And you've kind of hit the ground running with these last two albums. It's
Well, and that's the one thing too. I kind of want to say something about too, because we've been getting a lot of really good reviews off of the record, and we obviously know that with the whole COVID thing, that a lot of press has kind of gone away. Not only for us, but for a lot of bands. The magazines, the publications are getting smaller and thinner. It's going more to an online format due to the environment we're in, and the feedback we're getting from these reviews are really good. The reason why I want to touch base on this is because we did have a couple reviews, and they were like, they were nice about it, but I guess what I want to say is we did not set out to reinvent the wheel. We never ever said we are we're gonna be this or that or new. It's just we just wanted to write a really good death metal record in the vein of Morta Skuld, and I feel like we accomplished that. We're not trying to be somebody else. To me it's a straightforward record, and I like it a lot, which is hard for me to say because I go back and listen to my past records sometimes. I'm like, I don't like this, I don't like that. But this record is I just feel like it was a really good record. I feel like we spent a lot of time on it. We executed it well, and we picked the right studio to record at. And Chris DeJurek at Bell City Sound, his main objective was to capture. We had done pre-production already in our jam spot. We sent it to him, and he's like, I want to capture that essence of you guys just playing in your environment. And, nothing's doctored. There's no, the drums aren't sampled. This is all of us playing. Honestly playing straight through the songs. There's, no cutting and pasting. It's just us playing. Don't get me wrong. If there's a mess up, everybody knows, especially bands out there, you can punch in and punch out and fix mistakes. Of course we fixed our mistakes. But there are some mistakes we left in. We left it in purposely because we're like, we want to sound like a band, we don't want to sound so perfect and, that we're, oh God, these guys, they did this, did that. It was like, no, this record was literally us going in, playing, like we said at the beginning of the call, we went in, knocked things out, 5 hours here, 5 hours there. It was just, okay, your turn. There were many days in the studio where it was just me and Eric. And then some days it was just me and Scott. So we just went in and just handled business, and we just figured, we're not Metallica. We're not going to spend 120 days in a studio or write one riff, record it, and then have everything paced together and Frankensteined. This is it's a band effort, Yeah,
I think a lot of this modern technology, it does save you a lot of money and time because, you can just drop in and re-record that little lead or little note that you missed rather than having to record the entire song again. But at the same time as well, with the mistakes, you sometimes those mistakes make the song. It's those little bits that just fall in time, that little bit, just that little bend or that little note that you're singing that you just kind of that little octave ends up just becoming the song, and it all just slides. It just becomes like a good live take,
Absolutely.
You said earlier as well, Morta Skuld never really set out to reinvent the wheel. You just wanted to do a solid take in it, and I think as a listener, that's what Morta Skuld is. You're a reliable, solid take on death metal. But what I think sets you apart, or certainly makes you stand out for me, is the emotional honesty. You never really went too deep into the whole gore thing or the occult or thing. You've always sort of sung about your own experiences, your own life, and your songs are about real life and real emotions and real.
It is. That's like I take and that's exactly right. You're correct on that. If there's something I'm going through at the time and we happen to be writing, let's say, a song. Like right now, we are in process. We have 2 new songs that we're working on now. So when I sit down to write the lyrics, if I'm experiencing something or going through something, I'm gonna write about it. And it's not, I'm not. How can I say it? It's just pure to me. It's just my thoughts. Sometimes I hear stuff too. Like I'll be watching TV and I'll hear somebody say something. I'll be like, what did he just say? Did he say what I thought he said? And then somehow I might take a word or two from that because I might have had a thought similar, and then I kind of put it into my own language. So yeah, it's just, yeah, they're just my thoughts, my experiences, my emotions. I always wanted to make sure that was conveyed in the Morta Skuld music because, on Dying Remains, I still was trying to write a lot about the gore element on Dying Remains.
I think everyone starts off with that as well. Yeah.
Right. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. What do I really know? Like, honestly, what do I know about hacking somebody's arm off? I don't know anything about it. Do I know anything about, brain surgery? No, I don't know anything about that either. So I wanted to write about my experiences and hopefully translate them into where the fans can take that in and make it, put their own, well, I think you're singing about this. And it's like, well, I could be. It's all in the eye of the beholder, the ear of the listener.
Perfectly vague is they put it. Yeah. And the band does evolve from album to album. And even you can kind of tell from the artworks of each album as well, like the way it does you never radically change, just one step at a time, just once. And then, and that, I think now a perfect, your live set, you must be spoiled for choice because you've got these different selections of different periods.
Yeah, it is.
And I guess it all just fits together,
Yeah, when we went overseas, it was kind of tough because everybody wanted to hear like songs that we had never played before in 20 years. And we want to hear this, we want to hear that. So it can get a little tough because you really, you want to try to please the fans live. But getting back to the studio stuff, speaking of that, it's like, I'm going to be honest, for a while there, I was trying to I want to say try, but I was like, I want to write what people want to hear. And I had to really kind of take an inventory of myself. And I was like, well, why do you want to do that? You got to write what you want to write because you're, me, I want to write, like even when we write songs, we don't go like, oh, that's going to go 4. This is going to go 6. We jam on a riff and we jam until we're like, okay, we're cool. We're going to move on. It could be 4 measures, it could be 6 measures, it could be 8 measures. It's just what we feel. And we always like to throw a little bit of like, I don't want to say a loop, but a little bit of something for a little bit of excitement or something in like the song. Like, oh, okay, well the song's pretty basic. Well, what can we throw in there at this point to kind of make it a little different or not so basic? But yeah, the songs really are written by us as fans of this genre that we love so much.
Yeah, awesome. And yeah, so just a few things about this, the new album. Frank the Tank appears. Well,
yes.
Does he do actual vocals or does he just write the lyrics? What happened with that?
No, how that came about, Frank and I met on the 2017 tour. And I had never met Frank before. And we met at a club in, I want to say it was Maryland, and where he lives. And we got introduced, and it was like kind of best friend. Oh, we're best friends. Kind of like Step Brothers. Oh, we're best friends now. Yep. And so, him and I, we talk monthly, and we'd keep in touch. And I had said to him that I was working on a song. Scott had approached us with this song, and he's like, "Here, I got this song. See what you guys think." And it was pretty much written by Scott. Pretty much wrote it. I think we might have done a little things here and there. And I was like, I'm like, wow, man. I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm like, I don't know what I could, write over this. And I was telling Frank about it, and I said, because writing lyrics for some of us can be cumbersome. You're trying to make things fit, so to speak. I know what I'm a singer, guitar player.
You find these little gaps that you can,
right.
What point do I jump in? And I know what you mean.
And I can write the lyrics down, but then try to fit them to the music sometimes you're like, oh man, that was such a cool lyric line I wrote, but I can't use it and I have to change it to accommodate the song.
Yeah.
So I was telling Frank about that. And Frank's like, well, hey, do you want me to write any lyrics? And I was like, oh, yeah, you do that? And he's like, yeah. He did want to be on the record. But we kind of, I don't know, for us, it's like we really want it to be a pure Morta Skuld record, all of the records. So that's why we really didn't have any, like a guest vocalist. Nothing bad towards Frank. Frank's amazing. I love Frank. He knows that. But he offered to do the lyrics to Machines of Hate. And he had a different title, but he had the lyrics. And I was just listening to the song, and I'm like, man, this song is just a aggressive ass kicker. I'm like, it's got to have that title that just it just spews the essence of that song. So I changed the title, and he had a lot of lyrics written because, of course, he's a vocalist, not a player vocalist. So I had to kind of chop through a bunch of stuff, and I sent him the revision. I said, this is what I'm going to do. Are you cool with that? He's like, no problem, bro. And it was like a done deal. So you never know. We might work in the future together on the next record. I might have him write a couple tunes, some lyrics and stuff. I don't
do it live.
Yeah, possibly,
Cool.
absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. Like I said, we get along real well, and I know he's doing a review of the album that's going to be coming out soon, and I love the lyrics he came up with. He did a really great job.
I've got a lot of respect for Frank. Actually, I've got to get Frank. That's what I'm going to do. Actually, it's pretty late here, but tomorrow I'm going to message Frank.
Okay,
Frank, if you're watching this, I want to get him on the show because he's always. Obviously, he was in the Internal Bleeding back in the day, but then he's always doing something. He's always on a podcast, or obviously he's doing his own album reviews now. He's a really good writer, and he actually did a shout out to me once, which really made my day because I didn't know him, and
he's one of the.
He shared one of my articles and said named me and went, I've got a lot of respect for this guy, and that was fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, he's he's a very genuine, honest guy.
Yeah, and
I gravitated towards him from the first day I met him. Like he's hilarious. We chat on the phone about our kids and families and stuff. And we've only had the opportunity to get together twice, but I hope in the near future Tim and I can get together more often.
Yeah, I'll have to try and get him on the
for sure, that
channel. I've got a feeling I won't even have to. It's not even going to be an interview. I won't have to ask him anything. I know he's just gonna. We can. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna send him a message tomorrow. So here's one thing I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
There's a trend at the moment. I'm not going to say what's your favourite album, but I thought maybe a slightly different take on that question. We've got a thing out at the moment with bands playing a certain album in full.
Yes.
Have you done it before, by the way? But if so, what album did you envision doing?
That's a great question. You know what? Actually, we did. I was going to say no to that, but we actually did. Right after Wounds Deeper Than Time came out, we did a local CD release show, and we played the album in its entirety.
You did? Yeah? Cool.
Yeah, we were planning on doing that for Suffer for Nothing, but unfortunately, COVID came in and kind of ruined all that for us, so we weren't able to do that. We have had requests from fans to play Dying Remains from front to back.
Yeah.
So that has been a big one, and maybe someday, I think right now, we probably know half of the record. So we'd have to sit down and learn the rest of the record, and, but in the future, it's a possibility.
What do you think of this whole live streaming thing where people are doing concerts and live shows? Is that something you've considered?
Yes, we have. I kind of feel like right now, it's been overdone. And I feel like we're kind of like, should we do this? Should we not? My thing is Facebook, we know, has kind of banned live streams. so bands have to kind of find another way to live stream their performances. I guess I don't mind it. My thing is I don't know if having fans pay for it is like sits well with me. I get everybody has to make money. Believe
to
you
me, it's just a gig. It's a
right.
You pay per view to watch boxing.
Yeah, well, yeah, and like I said, I don't know. To each their own on it. I mean, to me, like I said, if we did it, I don't know if anybody would pay to see it. So, we are definitely looking at something come end. I think mid to end November. We are thinking of doing something. Now, mind you, Scott has left the band to pursue some personal stuff in his personal life. So we do have a new guitar player, Tim Byer. He is in a doom death metal band called Dusk, and he has been a great asset joining the band. He did play with us overseas. So Tim, again, like John, was a perfect fill-in or a perfect replacement because they already had known the set and the songs. So Tim's band is doing a live stream. I don't know for who, but then he basically was like, I really think Morta Skuld should maybe get in on this too. So what we're thinking about doing is doing something a little different, though. We're thinking about recording a half-hour live set and then chopping it into individual songs and then posting those songs like once a week.
So stick it on YouTube and get it circulating. Yeah,
right.
Cool.
YouTube. We're thinking about trying to do one song off of each album. So like six songs, one song off each album, and then make them all nice and pretty and edit them and make sure they sound good, and then probably release like maybe one a week or something just to keep people interested.
That's another way to do it.
Yeah.
Finishing up then, it's been an hour, so just name me some of your favorite albums, say like top 5 or something like that.
Oh wow, of just all time, or oh man, top 5. It's a hard one for me.
Before you go into that, have you been listening? What have you been listening to this year? Are there any albums that have...
Honestly, I kind of went back to kind of like my roots, so to speak, and I've been listening to a lot of Scorpions and Michael Schenker Group. But the last 2 Michael Schenker Fest records I listened to heavily.
One recently, was it last year or this year?
Yeah, I think it was Revelations.
Yeah,
similar. So those 2 records have been in my rotation. The newest Vader has made its way into my rotation. Very good record. And then another one is the new Alcatraz. I'm a huge Graham Bonnet fan, and that one has just been sitting in my player, and I've been constantly listening to that. And I think I might be behind the curve on this one. Now, there's a lot of music out there to listen to, and with me being a player and trying not to have much influence me, I sometimes listen to things a little bit after the fact. But the new Judas Priest, or the latest Judas Priest, is really good. So those are like the ones off the album. Yeah, that I really can think. And then I have to, the newest Skeletal Remains I still have to get, but their last record is always in my player as well. So
yeah, great. New one's good as well.
Yeah, I look forward to checking that out.
They're more, the first sort of 3 albums are kind of a mixture of thrash and death metal together. It's kind of like an early,
right.
I've sort of, to a friend that didn't hear him, I said, think like Beneath the Remains era Sepultura, and then as if they carried on like that. Yeah. And it's it's real thrashy and raw with a death metal sort of overtone. This album, they've gone full death metal.
Nice. I heard the 2 tracks.
Yeah.
On YouTube, and I'd like, wow, man, it just I look forward to playing with those guys again. Hopefully, we'll be able to do a run with them, and that record's a really good one, from what I hear. But that's pretty much what I've been listening to. Some Scorpions and Accept, just a lot of the old classics, man. I love listening to that stuff.
Are you in touch with anyone from the old days? I know you're in touch with Eric Greif still. I mean, you mentioned Phil from Malevolent earlier. You still see much of him, or?
Phil,
I know you all live in different areas, but
yeah. Back in the day, I feel like I kind of I think I kind of lost touch after the band broke up with a lot of the people that I corresponded with. I used to really Alex Webster and I used to talk somewhat frequently, and of course now there's at such a huge status I can't really get to him on Messenger or anything. But I get that. Him and I share the same birthday, so every year I wish him a happy same birthday. Otherwise than that, no, I really don't. I'm trying to think. Besides Frank and Eric. God, I'm trying to think. Eric Rutan and I chit chat a little bit here and there, and Terry Butler, actually, Obituary. Him and I have talked on and off over the past couple of years, and he's such a great guy too. So, few people, sometimes it's hard, with these bands being at such a different level. They have probably everybody coming at them, so.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, Eric's a really good guy. I've got a lot of time for him as well. I had the pleasure of interviewing him last year, and he had another call coming in, and he offered to call me back. So it was a good interview. He's enjoying it, and I went, "No, man, you're good." And like a dumbass, I was, "Why didn't you get him to call?"
Yeah,
me back?
And he's another guy that when I first met him, same thing, like just very honest and genuine, like Frank, and just another guy I just kind of gravitated towards, and that guy's so busy. I remember after we got out of the studio, I messaged him and I was like, oh, is he going to message me back? Because I wanted to ask him about vocals and doubling and stuff like that. I wish I would have asked him before I went in, but I asked him afterwards, and he wrote me back and really gave me some really cool insight as far as like what he does to track vocals and stuff. And Eric's a great guy. I mean, their last record too, I really enjoy that record too. So.
Yeah. They just go from strength to strength. Yeah.
I talked with Carl Willits. Him and I were
both Momentum. Momentum.
Him and I were like the biggest pen pals back in the day. We lost touch, and I don't know. Once in a while on Facebook, he'll message me, but a little bit sporadic. But I have told him that I felt the new Memoriam stuff was just really, really good. I love it. I was always a big Bolt Thrower fan, so. Kudos to him, and next time message me back, Carl.
All right, man. I think we'll leave it at that. Congratulations for the new album, everyone.
Firstly, thank you for your support.
No, my pleasure, man. It's just sitting here doing nothing else. But definitely, guys, go check out this new album. It's an absolute fucking stomper of an album. Suffer for Nothing. It's on Peaceville Records. Get the vinyl. Get the CD. And get through these tough times by listening to metal and drinking loads of beer.
There you go. Cheers.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Dave. Take care, man.
Take care, Joe.
Stay online. I'm going to